Welcome to the Wild Hall with Elise. This is an intimate, sensual experience for women who want the truth in their bodies, not just in their heads. And I'll tell you now, I'm direct, I face what's uncomfortable, I don't tiptoe. I'm here to unleash the truth, embodied, raw, and real. When you listen, you'll feel something shift in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. You'll get language for what you've been feeling all along, and clarity you can actually use. Here, everything belongs: natural health, motherhood, womanhood, identity, love, endings, devotion, and the brave decisions that shape a life, like new beginnings. And when I'm on a path of discovery, you're coming with me. I'll share where I've been, where I'm going, and what I'm learning as I go. Because life doesn't hand us a neat lesson plan. It hands us a wild haul and invites us to make meaning from what we carry. Welcome to the Wild Hall with Elise. Follow, subscribe, and come walk with me. This is part 2 of episodes 9 and 10 about cycle mapping. I just had to dive in a little deeper as I am approaching my lifespan of inner winter. And this Friday the 13th, I turned 45. And so I want to share with you about the lifespan seasons that we all go through and then relate them back into the cycle mapping. First, I'm going to share a little bit about our inner seasons, and none of us are a robot. These age spans are estimates. You'll get a general idea here, and I'll be sharing some quotes from Banyan Botanicals. And the link to Banyan Botanicals is in the show notes if you're craving more after this episode. So like our inner seasons during our menstrual cycle, in Ayurveda, an ancient medical system from India, we also go through seasons of our physical life on Earth. From ages 0 to 16, we experience what is named as Kapha time, the season of spring, your inner spring. Key elements of describing Kapha include qualities of heavy, slow, cool, oily, smooth, dense, soft, stable, large, and cloudy. Primary elements that are ruling Kapha are earth and water. It lends the body structure, cohesiveness, lubrication, hydration, and nourishment, while supporting building bodily processes and growth. So as I continue to share here, think about the season of spring and what qualities do you associate spring with our lived experiences. Childhood is about growth, building new tissue, accumulating body mass, and rapidly increasing the weight of the physical body as it grows. The body needs a tremendous amount of Kapha, spring season, in order to pull this off. In other words, the rapid growth and development, the constant generation of new cells and tissues that characterize childhood is a process that is inherently governed by the spring season, Kapha. There is an elegant intelligence in buffering the body with extra Kapha during this stage of life. Ages 16 to 50, we experience what is called Pitta time, the season of summer. Fire and water are the primary elements. Qualities of Pitta phase include light, sharp, hot, oily, liquid, spreading, and subtle. Key functions include digestion, absorption, assimilation, nutrition, and transformation. So again, consider what you think of and know of as the summer season, and then thinking about the phase of life that you have gone through or maybe are currently in. This stage of life is about digesting and assimilating our experiences of life, forming an identity, developing our unique gifts, talents, and skills, and it is also about achievement. All of these endeavors are incredibly summer, fire, pitta in nature, and all can require a healthy dose of ambition, as well as an intense level of focus. Many adults during this stage of life are seen as fiery, goal-oriented, and can even be sharply competitive. Lastly, from 50 to end of life, we enter Vata time, the season of fall and winter. Ruling elements are air and space. with qualities of light, cold, dry, rough, mobile, subtle, clear. Key functions include communication, movement, creativity, flexibility, and expansiveness. Elderhood is about mastery, wisdom, maturity, teaching, and sharing your gifts. It is a time during which humans throughout history have been drawn to spiritual development and to cultivating an expansive connection with the cosmos. At the same time, it is a time when it becomes clear that the body is not as resilient as it once was. All of this, both the natural gifts of this time and the challenges, correspond beautifully with the strengths and vulnerabilities of Vata season, our inner fall and winter. The most challenging part about this stage of life is that the reserves of youth begin to dry up in a decisive way, and the body's capacity to rejuvenate on its own declines sharply. In the best-case scenario, this is in no way problematic because ideally, by this point in our lives, we have learned to move through life with a bit more grace and ease so that our systems do not require the same rejuvenation capacity that they might have when we were young. Picture the difference between a novice martial arts student who requires a great deal of focus and effort to embody the same amount of power that the master can muster with a seemingly effortless flick of the wrist. If by the time we reach this stage of life, we do not know how to listen to our bodies, or have not embodied a certain level of mastery, our elder years may be disproportionately challenging because there is no longer much buffer to absorb poor self-care habits. And even those with strong self-care practices may become aware that in order to maintain a sense of optimal health and well-being, their bodies simply need more nourishment and rejuvenation or rest during this phase, which is completely natural and ought to be honored. In part 1, we mapped the menstrual cycles like seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Today we are going deeper into the inner winter, menstruation, and why it is more than just a bleed. It is a monthly initiation. It is a rehearsal for the wise woman years. It is your body giving you a preview of what we call the crone phase, not in a negative way, but in the most sacred sense of the word: elder, seer, truth teller. And before we go into the wise woman years, we need to zoom out and look at the natural initiations women move through in a lifetime, as they all set her up for a peaceful transition into our final initiation of becoming the wise woman. Without any external stimulation, without self-help, without retreats, the female body already contains initiations. The first one we experience is menarche, the first bleed. Menarche is your first menstrual cycle. It is not just a biological event. It is your body announcing, you are now capable of creating life. Hormones shift dramatically. The brain, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland begin signaling the ovaries. The ovaries produce estrogen. Estrogen builds the uterine lining. Ovulation begins, though it may be irregular at the onset. And estrogen's job, in simple terms, it builds, it grows, it expands tissues, it shapes breasts, it influences mood and development, it prepares the body for possible pregnancy. A girl becomes biologically fertile. Psychologically, she is still becoming. This is maiden energy, curious, outward, learning. The second initiation we go through are the maiden years, and they stretch from adolescence through young adulthood. Hormones are cyclical. Estrogen rises and falls monthly. Progesterone appears after ovulation to stabilize the uterine lining. Progesterone's role? Think of it as calming and nesting energy. It supports potential pregnancy. It softens, it slows. If pregnancy does not occur, estrogen and progesterone drop, and menstruation begins. That drop, that is inner winter, every month. Our third initiation is the mother. For many women, and not all, the next biological initiation is pregnancy and birth. Pregnancy is an estrogen-dominant state. Estrogen levels rise dramatically. Progesterone also rises to maintain the uterine environment. The body expands. Blood volume increases. Organs shift in her body. The brain even changes structure. Research shows measurable changes in gray matter that enhance bonding and attunement to baby. And after birth, estrogen and progesterone drop sharply, one of the most dramatic hormonal shifts a human experiences, far more impactful than the monthly inner winter season. This is more and most similar to post-menopause. Change in the pregnant body happens in as quick as flicking a light switch on. The body, which nourished and produced specific hormones to benefit the baby inside of her womb, earth and fire elements, are turned off and redirected. She has emptied out of her a baby and placenta, represented by earth, amniotic fluid, represented by water, and blood, sweat, and energy, represented by fire. It takes months to years for the hormones to balance to produce life-sustaining milk and heal from making and birthing a human. You may hear newborn mothers express themselves by saying they feel spacey or all dried up. This is because she is now full of space and ether. So I just want to hit that home again. If you experienced pregnancy or are pregnant and preparing for postpartum, this is how our body is working. And when we think about the elements of it helps make sense of what we're going through. When you are pregnant and then you birth, you are releasing out earth, water, and fire. If those elements are all out of your body, what is left? Space and air. And that is why postpartum rest and proper nourishment is not optional. It is a physiological necessity because when hormones drop, the nervous system is vulnerable, sleep is disrupted, identity shifts, support determines outcomes, rest is medicine. And what if a woman does not birth children? Motherhood is an archetypal initiation. It does not only happen through pregnancy. Psychologically, developmental theorist Erik Erikson described midlife as the stage of generativity versus stagnation, meaning humans need to feel they are contributing to the next generation in some way. Generativity can look like mentorship, creative work, community leadership, teaching, philanthropy, spiritual mothering. Research shows that meaning and contribution, not childbirth alone, are what protect psychological well-being in midlife. So if a woman does not birth children biologically, she must still initiate herself into generativity. Otherwise, there can be stagnation, isolation, loss of purpose. We are wired to contribute beyond ourselves. The mother phase is about expanding beyond the self. It is not limited to biology, but it must be embodied somehow. Our final initiation actually has 3 phases: perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. We move into the wise woman years. Let's break this down simply. Perimenopause. This can begin in our 40s and sometimes late 30s. Hormones fluctuate widely. Estrogen spikes and crashes. Progesterone often declines first. Symptoms may include irregular cycles, mood shifts, sleep disruption, and hot flashes. It's not that the hormones disappear, they become unpredictable. Menopause is technically 1 day. It is defined as 12 consecutive months without a period. And then post-menopause, after that year, estrogen levels remain lower and more stable. Lower estrogen means less outward reproductive focus, more inward neurological and spiritual focus. There is emerging research suggesting that postmenopausal women play critical evolutionary roles in community survival. This is known as the grandmother hypothesis. Older women increase survival rates of grandchildren and community members. In other words, the wise woman phase is not biological failure. It is social and evolutionary advancement. Isn't that amazing to hear? We women are medicine just by being ourselves. Now we return to inner winter menstruation of cycle mapping. Every month, when estrogen and progesterone drop before menstruation, you experience lower energy, increased introspection, heightened intuition, reduced tolerance for nonsense. Sound familiar? That is wise woman energy. Your body rehearses this every single month. If you practice resting during menstruation, you are training your nervous system for future decades. If you resist it, override it, push through it, ignore it, eventually the body will force rest through illness, burnout, or breakdown. I have seen this in circles. I have seen it in family systems, and I have lived it with my own mother. When we refuse the winter, winter comes harder. And here's our obstacle. We live in a culture that celebrates youth and fears aging. Fillers, Botox, lifts, mommy makeovers, forcing intense workouts when the body just wants rest. It keeps women psychologically tethered to maiden energy. But here's the truth. You were already 25. You were already 35. Been there, done that. I was hot. You were hot. Let's celebrate the women we once were that got us to the here and now and move on. Now I get to be 45. You get to join me in it at 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. That is a privilege not everyone receives. Youth is beautiful. So is age. The wise woman is magnetic because she is unbothered. She has perspective. She has survived. She knows what matters. And we need elders who look like elders, who embrace their skin, their hair, their lived-in eyes, because daughters are watching. And we do this by resting in menstruation, welcoming radical rest in postpartum, and in perimenopause, reducing our load, doing less to be more. Rest does not mean collapse. It may mean a slow morning coffee, a walk without productivity, saying no, delegating, hiring help, letting dinner be simple. Active rest recharges the battery. Think about when you get the flu. You feel 80% better, you jump back into life's obligations, then relapse. That's what we do hormonally every month. If you rest fully, you come back stronger. And if you no longer menstruate, you can follow the moon cycles, sun cycles, seasonal shifts. You can do all three or choose one. For instance, the new moon would be a time of rest. The waxing moon is building. Full moon, outward energy, you are magnetic, you go out. Waning moon is releasing, preparing for rest. Even without bleeding, you are cyclical. Here's some ideas for integrating this into your life this month. Start small, one small shift, and I firmly believe the small things in life are what matters most and create the biggest impacts and ripple effects. During your next bleed, cancel one non-essential thing. Go to bed earlier, journal instead of scroll, and ask for help or delegate. Notice, how much energy do you truly have? What is essential and what is noise or extra? Teach this to your daughters. Model it in your home, because when a mother is well, the nervous system of the home is well. Even if your child has a diagnosis that requires extra attention and care, even if life is imperfect, regulated mothers raise regulated humans. You are not declining, you are ripening. Inner winter is not a problem to fix. It is an initiation to accept. And if we honor it monthly, we walk into our wise woman years prepared, not sick, not resentful, not clinging to youth, but radiant, steady, and deeply alive. Thank you for listening to The Wild Haul with Elise. If you'd be so kind to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone you know who'd resonate with it, I'd greatly appreciate it. Check out the show notes for more details and connect with me anytime at birthhumanity.com or on Instagram or Facebook at birthhumanity. Talk to you soon.